Previously,
with sylabdul.
Report, not simply from a trade, because sometimes trades can get reports wrong. This isn't some anonymous rumor. This isn't some geek site. This is Bloomberg. Bloomberg, I got to remind people, is a business journal. They have confirmed a lot of business talk that me and the late great Mikey Seddon was talking about 4 years ago about the sale of Warner Brothers, how Zaza was going to flip it. They was confirming us like every day. It was kind of insane, and so I always lean onto these business journals over just regular trades. And no knock, these trades have their sources as well. Deadline, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. You got Puck News. Sometimes they shoot and hit, sometimes they miss. But Bloomberg, I put up there with business information, so they don't just clumsily come out here, because that's the thing. People will believe a random rumor online or from some kind of geek site who has an agenda over a well-accredited business journal, Bloomberg. I'm going to pick Bloomberg over the random geek site, the Cosmic News or whatever that thing is called. That didn't smell too good. Now we have here Paramount plans to keep a merged Warner Brothers largely intact. As it says again, under Ellison's plans, and this the people that has knowledge of his plans, that's what a sourcing is coming from. And again, I'm going to definitely lean on Bloomberg over a random tweet on Twitter. Okay. Warner Brothers HBO Max streaming service would merge into the existing Paramount Plus platform. One of the people said he believes combining the offerings will allow more people to see the work of the film and TV show creators. The libraries of the two companies will make Paramount Plus more compelling for subscribers. Again, Paramount Plus will totally level up if this deal is made. It is fair to note now that I heard this. It's probably the past week that, again, keeping the creative teams, DeLuca Abdi, DC Studios, James Gunn, Peter Safran, but overall, Zaslav would potentially become co-chairman, co-head. Zaslav, and I said this last week or last episode, previous episodes, Zaslav is loving Hollywood, and if he could write into this deal that he is co-chairman or just a consultant, and he can still have these courtside seats at the Lakers games and rub shoulders in Hollywood. That's what Zazas want, and he won't be running a thing. Like it will literally be name only co-chairman. David Ellison will be running everything, but Zaza, you'll have the the mascot. You'll be the mascot of the company, but we really don't care. We really don't care what you want to happen. David Ellison will be running things. So very interesting. Again, this has been floated out there. As I always said for the past 5 years, what I've learned is when stories get out there, you got to realize what side wanted this story out there. This is talking about Paramount buying Warner Brothers. Would Warner Brothers want to float this out there? Nah, Warner Brothers, Zaslav wants a bidding war. But Paramount is the clear favorite. And now they leak out there that, hey, everyone's going to keep their jobs, relatively, and for the execs. Obviously, Paramount wants this story out there. David Ellison. He probably saw these goofy internet rumors, and he's like, let me kind of quell, the worries out there. So we gotta stand. We gotta put our foot down one way or the other here. Did Superman bomb? Now, I mean, the information's out there, but if Superman bombed in so many, in some people's eyes on social media, why are we waiting for Supergirl? Now, if it's true Superman made a profit because of advertising tie-ins, Now is okay, wait for Supergirl, but I think Supergirl's going to do better. So I just want people to stand on one thing here. If we're waiting on Supergirl, then you're saying Superman made a profit. Now, if some people that they try to shout real loud about this, that Superman, that the reports that the profit they made is not true, okay, then there's no reason to wait on Supergirl. So and again, this is not me picking on Dave Miller. I'm glad he put this out there so we can have this conversation. We can't have it both ways here, okay? So I think people are starting to say, okay, Superman, okay. So they made a little profit, okay. Didn't make as much as Man of Steel, true. But so we're all in agreement now, because this wait on Supergirl crowd I'm starting to see pop up. Not just Dave, just other people. I'm like, okay, so you're accepting Superman made a profit.
It's Coffee Talk with sylabdul. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe now.
Wake up in the morning, eyes crusty, heavy yawning. My phone keep going off, so I shut off the alarm and then head into the kitchen to get the coffee brewing. French roast with French vanilla, my own French revolution. Next movement is to tune into Coffee Talk with Sil. My girl is toss a yap if I tell her she need to chill. I hear enough of the yapping from all of these goofy shills. Plus I'm trying to be informed of whatever's the latest deal. For real.
Oh my, what a start to this series. Welcome to Derry, has been reported. It ranks among the top 3 series premieres globally in HBO Max history. Yes, the premiere of this series, episode 1, racked up in 3 days 5.7 million viewers through HBO Max. This only trails, and this the obvious House of the Dragon and The Last of Us. Both of those were higher than Welcome to Derry. I think it's safe to say, since Muschietti said he's planning 3 seasons of this show, and it's kind of a reverse anthology where they're starting in the 60s, then it goes back further and further each season. Safe to say he's going to make those 3 seasons because the viewership is there. HBO Max is really the strongest it's ever been, kind of cranking out, some good shows within the last couple of years. So, like I said, this show, it delivers on storytelling, casting, performances, and there's some disturbing things that's happening on the show. Muschietti is eating, and I think he's enjoying this a little bit too much, because this is disturbing. And let me know in the comments below, have you been watching Welcome to Derry series, season 1 of likely 3 seasons, because Andy Muschietti is cooking. Now, how many people remember the old Power Rangers film in 2017? Had actually a pretty good cast. The film holds up pretty well. You had Elizabeth Banks in there, Dacre Montgomery, Naomi Scott, RJ Cyler, among other people. Bryan Cranston was in there. Interesting stuff. That was a time, I always say, after Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and really, I'll go back even further. After Batman and Robin, kind of got too campy, and then a lot of these IPs wanted to get a little bit more serious, back to being serious. So you had Batman Begins, Nolan, you had the Dark Knight trilogy, then they wanted to do Superman, Man of Steel, comes out 2013. And again, it was just a little more, realistic. But then you had other films trying to be more serious. Fantastic Four, Josh Trank tried to do a more serious take, of Fantastic Four. And you have Power Rangers. This film, this is still in my rotation. Now, like I said, great cast, great performances, and it's a shame they didn't continue this series of films that they were planning. But by the time this Power Rangers film came out in 2017, it seemed to be like a backlash towards more serious superhero films. BVS, got attacked a year earlier, 2016. So Power Rangers kind of came out, I think it was ahead of its time and kind of at the wrong time for it because, critically it got destroyed. Um, I think even the audience, the audience score wasn't what it should be. And then on top of that, it cost $100 million to make the film, and they made only 85 million domestically, 142 worldwide. It was, a failure at the box office, unfortunately. So they canceled everything afterwards. But like I said, I suggest if you have not seen 2017's Power Rangers, I think again it was ahead of its time, but it was fitting that serious tone of films, and I thought it was pretty good. So, like I said, it's a shame they canceled all of that. But we bring this up because around Halloween time, you had a lot of um, celebrities. They were, I guess, dressing as as themselves or as characters that they played. Among the celebrities is Becky G. Becky G is, because I mentioned the Power Rangers. She, for Halloween, she dressed back up as the Yellow Ranger, showing what she's working with today, 8 years later after that Power Rangers film. Now we know Becky G. She was pretty popular before that film as a songwriter, artist, and actress. And so I thought she did really well in the Power Rangers film. And like I said, she just had to remind y'all if y'all forgot what the Yellow Ranger was working with that. So pretty cool post. And again, I encourage those, if you have not seen the Power Rangers 2017 film, encourage you to check that out again because it was ahead of its time. I think it was a banger. Now to jump back to DC for a moment, and then we'll talk more about the Warner Brothers sale, etc. But Clayface has been reported that they have wrapped filming of the Clayface film. This is the DC horror project, which is dropping September 11th, 2026. This is a project, like I said, a lot of potential, low budget, horror themed. I like the approach. They're using a lot of practicality, but also, it'll be some CG mixed in as well too. Just very excited for this film overall. I know the state of DC, it seems to some people think it's on shaky ground. Then you have reports that if Paramount buys Warner Brothers, they will keep the DC execs intact, and vice versa. You're hearing other rumors. So like I said, this is just a film I think it's going to come out, it's going to perform, it's definitely going to make a profit. I mean, you got to think of like the New Line Cinema approach that Warner Brothers has been doing, low budget, character driven, suspense and things like that. I think you can slide that, into the DC property, slide that into that genre. A lot of potential with the Clayface film. Let me know in the comments below. What are you thinking about this Clayface film? Zack Snyder has had a very interesting few months on Instagram, posting Snyderverse related pictures, getting a lot of people excited about Restore the Snyderverse and other hashtags that people are using. We addressed this on previous episodes that, and I've been saying this for the past couple of years, Zack Snyder will do DC again. He's still interested in it. He has not moved on, though people that seemingly hate Zack Snyder, they keep telling us he's moved on. But the the information we're seeing is that he is not. That he's still interested, and he's said it in so many words that hey, if he had a chance to do DC again, he has a story in mind, a project in mind that he would do. I feel that will be him completing his story. And I talked about that again, just why I lean that way. So him, yes, Zack Snyder has a new film he's making, The Last Photograph. He knows when he says anything about DC or posts anything, it gets a lot of attention. So it's like a twofold thing. I definitely think Zack is keeping the internet burning because he is making a new film and he wants to cause that conversation. So he's definitely getting the attention and promoting his new film. but then also too, again, he's reminding people, you know, hey, Ben Affleck is still Batman. Henry Cavill is Superman, and then you have Gal Gadot posting a Wonder Woman related picture, uh, acknowledging people, you know, with their Halloween costumes, dressed up as Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot got into the fray as well, and on Instagram, posting a Wonder Woman related or a picture of her as Wonder Woman. A few days ago, Zach reposted this Batman picture, a picture we saw a few years ago, but Zach could just pointing out the camera he used for it and saying, you know, Ben Affleck is Batman. And then right before I started recording this, Zach put another Henry Cavill related picture. It's just, it's insane the conversations that Zack Snyder can easily spark up, and he's very capable of doing that. And Snyderverse is still in the conversation. And as soon as Zach again is able to do anything, I believe he would be able to do DC again. I strongly believe that. And we'll just keep the hype train rolling. Now, what I will say though, those who seem like, I don't want to say intimidated, like it's some weird energy that you see online, or it's people there's thinking this is threatening James Gunn's DCU, or Zack Snyder's just stringing people along. It's like, no, I mean, like I said, Zack has said he would do DC again, and he told you what he would do, or at least the concept of the story that he would do. So Zack has never hidden that he will do DC again. So that's one thing. Being a DC Comics fan growing up, you know, more prominently a DC Comics fan, we understand the concept of multiverses. And like I said, Elseworlds, Zack considers his Snyderverse an Elseworld from what the main DC wants to do. So this isn't threatening anything. That's just like being threatened that Matt Reeves is doing his own world, right? That's not what's happening. You know, I mean, they're not threatening each other. So why can't you do a Snyderverse? Why can't we get the Schumacher cut? Why can't, you know, we get David Ayer's original Suicide Squad film that exists, right? So I just think people just get nervous. I think it's just, you know, hey, they hate Zack Snyder. They're uncomfortable with these conversations. But I think all this can coexist, and, you know, everybody can just relax a bit. One thing I won't do is what I won't relax about is pointing out false stories that's being pushed out there. It's annoying to the point, and I put out a few tweets about the Snyder fandom. I've been talking about this, you know, for a few months now, kind of trying to prepare people for just, you know, how I'm approaching talking about the fandom and DC. I made it clear, you know, all Snyder fans, like we're not like a monolith where everyone has to be jerks online, right? Like, you know, on one hand, you know, you tweet restore the Snyderverse, and it doesn't mean you have to start crying about James Gunn in the same tweet. Now, if that's what you want to do, you do your thing. I'm just saying how I'm approaching the fandom, and as a DC fan, as a Snyder fan, we're all not the same. We're all not built the same way. What I take issue with is that people, you know, take you know, just a certain circle of Snyder fans, and they want to point and say, okay, all Snyder fans are toxic because of a handful of people, again, you know, talking about James Gunn more than Zack Snyder. These Snyder fans, and they're constantly posting about James Gunn. And hey, if you don't like James Gunn, that's fine. That's fine. But don't pretend you are representing all Snyder fans. That's what I'm not going to allow. It's happened long enough. Yeah, are there a toxic circle in all fan bases? Yes. But the Snyder fandom overall, I feel, especially on Twitter, and there's some Facebook groups as well too. Snyder fans, I feel we've allowed the extremists in the fandom to represent us too long. Now, if that means are there more extreme Snyder fans than there are like level-headed ones? That remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. But I'm going to voice out, what I feel about other DC projects, and there isn't some written code that Snyder fans can't watch this, or all Snyder fans have to hate this. That's what I'm not going to allow to be defined for me. Now, if there's others that think like me, fine, because this is going to be my approach. I'm not going to allow false stories. I've defended the Snyder fandom, for several years now on my platform, and I didn't allow them to tell us false stories about Rebel Moon, about what the Snyder Cut was doing. I had Sama TV on this platform, and they've declared the Snyder Cut a success. I'm going to define, how people look at me as a Snyder fan. That's up to you, how you want to be looked at as a fan. This is not about me policing, who should say what, things like that. I just want to make it a clear distinction, because there's a lot of false information that's been pushed out there, and I'm seeing too many Snyder fans repeating it. With this James Gunn Superman film, when that came out, I've been trying to prepare my viewers like, hey, I'm not going to be leaning on these false reports and the false stories. We're going to give you real information. We're going to assess it from there. And certain viewers, maybe they got upset with that and they, left the channel or whatever. I mean, that's up to you. But I'm not going to allow stuff like this post right here. And this does not speak for the Snyder fandom. If you want to rock with this, with that fake stuff, that's cool. All I'm saying is that no, I think the Snyder fandom is easily grifted by even journalists. They know to write something to trigger you as a Snyder fan. And they've been playing the Snyder fandom against James Gunn fandom, and people are just falling for it easily. And then you have this culture base. I have no idea who's behind this account. There's nothing reputable that they've ever reported, to my knowledge. Let me know in the comments below, because it's all about sourcing. I've been doing this long enough, and I can, you kind of can see signs when people are just kind of spitballing. They say breaking. Netflix is reportedly actively exploring a bid to buy Warner Brothers assets. And we'll talk about that in a moment in more detail. Netflix seems interested. We'll break that down further. As it says here, they've hired the bank that advised Skydance on purchasing Paramount. Netflix also has been granted access to WB's data room and financial details. So far, this is all lining up to the reports out there. But then they throw this out there so they can get suspecting Snyder fans to push this tweet. They say Netflix is also interested in giving Zack Snyder a new contract for future films. Okay, so this is the thing. This same account, they put out there, it costs $500 million to make James Gunn Superman, with no credible sourcing at all. Then you had, again, a certain circle of Snyder fans who, just honestly, they just want to be jerks online. That doesn't represent all of us. They were pushing that, like, see, that's what Snyder fans said. James Gunn, the Ohio tax sheet, and they spent $300 million on marketing like Barbie, and just nonsense is what supposed Snyder fans was pushing. And they were quoting this account. So I wonder if, you got these anonymous accounts, and it's the Snyder fandom. We kind of know on Twitter, you got different faceless people. Probably got one person controlling 10 different accounts, spewing nonsense. This account is nonsense to me. So that's the first thing. Now you can believe what you want. Like I said, push whatever you want. But again, you're not speaking for the entire Snyder fandom. You're just not going to do that. Um, as I mentioned, what I did with the Sama TV report, that was for the fandom, so that we could have uh, actual data to combat the antis. So what I've done, since doing my content, is champion the Snyderverse. The Snyder Cut was about to come out, so I was doing a lot of videos with that early. Once it came out, I defended the numbers with actual sources and data, verifiable information that I pointed people to. I was probably one of the first persons that pointed out the China situation with BVS. Like that, it's been well documented what I've done for several years. And then on top of that, we almost had that last ride of the Snyderverse under DeLuca and Abdi when Ben was coming back and Cavill was coming back. So all this stuff kind of lines up. History has already been written. That's already been written. And just quite honestly, if there's a Hall of Fame of Snyder fans, my jersey is in the rafters because it's very clear what I've done for several years. And that's not to, try to give myself some, over credit or anything like that, or a clout. It's not about that at all. It's just you can't erase what I've done for the good of the fandom. Now, if you think being a jerk online every day and hating James Gunn every day is your way of expressing your fandom, that's fine. That just doesn't represent all of us. And so when I see Snyder fans wanting to push these false stories and they try to play it off like this is how the whole fandom feels, I'm going to speak out on it just very easily. That's just what's going to happen. Now, that last line, like I said, all those other lines, you can find those in actual articles out there. But that last line, Netflix is interested in giving Zack Snyder a new contract for future films. Early 2023, I think it was before I went to Full Circle, or was it after? I have to check the timing on that. But I reported Zack got extended his contract with Netflix for 8 to 10 years. So Zack Snyder already got his new contract. Just throwing that line in there. And again, I put the video out there. This is 2 years old. Zack is still working with Netflix. You're hearing about the LA SWAT stuff. Do they still want to do the Army verse, Rebel Moon? We'll see. But Zack has already extended his contract with Netflix. So if it's let's say if it's 8 years, he's only a couple years into that contract. So this person's saying they're going to extend that contract even further. I don't think so. You usually get closer to the end of your deal before they extend you. But anyway, Zack has already extended his contract. But this line, again, in this account, they're putting that in there and they're trying to get Snyder fans to push their tweet, which has happened. And since this is something that's being spreaded, I want to address it. Zack already had his extension, and again, I reported that 2 years ago. Now, are they saying, and then he's going to get the Snyderverse back? Well, Netflix has to actually win the bid first, okay? Like, we got this article here that's actually talking about what's happening with the Netflix situation. A few things we want to make clear. Paramount still is considered a favorite to purchase all of Warner Bros. Discovery, because there's been a lot said that I guess the rumor is that a deal could likely be closed by the end of this year. And as we're understanding, as we've been following, this entire story, Warner Brothers Zaza wants to split the company next spring. But if a deal is made before the split, that means that company is purchasing the entirety of Warner Bros. Discovery pre-split. So there's only a few candidates. Like Amazon's not going to buy um, WBD whole. Netflix wouldn't do it whole. But we'll talk more about the Netflix scenario here. So just to kind of address that rumor out there that likely a deal could be done before the end of the year. You're talking about Paramount, you're talking about Comcast, and you're talking about the Saudis still. So keep that in mind. Also, too, addressing this topic going forward, this is more of a merger than just an outright purchase. Yes, Paramount would be let's say Paramount buys this. They would be, obviously over everything, the entire conglomerate, but written into the deal likely will put Zazev as a co-chairman or like a high consultant in the company. And just like the Paramount deal that we talked about, whoever purchases Warner Brothers, they will likely allow their execs to keep things intact. Again, they would just be over it. They would be owners of it all, but it's like, you run it, we'll let you run it, and we'll only step in if there's some problems with some money. So it's more of a merger than an outright takeover. Right. So let's keep that in mind, because when Discovery came in to buy Warner Brothers, that was a takeover. Zaza moved in all his execs, kicked out the other people. This is different. This is again more of a merger. Now, a lot of excitement about Netflix. Let's be clear, right? Let's be clear on this platform. When we're talking about, when we see on social media, people are excited about Netflix, and like I said, I have my favorites and who I will want to purchase Warner Brothers. I said Amazon is my dark horse, so I hope it gets to the point where it can split, and we can have more conversations on who can purchase this. But why would I favor Amazon? Because, like I said, they integrated MGM. Amazon still is for theaters, and I think it's going to be some exciting stuff they're going to do with Voltron coming up. They've teamed up, with Cavill for the Warhammer projects universe, so that's going to be exciting to see how that comes together. Ben Affleck, Artist Equity, has some good business with Amazon as well. So it's a lot of potential with Amazon. You have the streaming aspect, you have the theater aspect. They've always showed an interest in DC. Amazon has, so that's why I kind of favor them. And like my wild idea is definitely the Saudis. They will come in, and hey, it seems like all these options has a connection to the Snyderverse. So that's true. That is true. But just overall, Netflix, a lot of people are excited for that because Zach currently has his contract obviously with Netflix, and he's doing multiple projects. So Snyder fans overall will be like, hey, they will restore the Snyderverse if Netflix gets it. Do I believe that? Do I believe with all this is if, right? If we get to next spring and Warner Brothers separates from Discovery and Netflix puts a bid and they win, they outbid everyone. Will Netflix restore the Snyderverse? I can't say no. I can't say that they would not do it, right? Because it's obvious. If you have the rights to DC and you have a good relationship with Zack Snyder, this was not the scenario with the old regime of Warner Brothers. They have DC, and they, Toby Emmerich, Hamada, they didn't have a good relationship with Zack Snyder. So if you replace that with people with Netflix, and would they give Zack a shot? I mean, sure. Now, overall, I just, and again, we're talking about merger. So they were still in effect allow Warner Brothers to run itself. It's just they would have operating, power over them, ownership over them, I guess. But they will allow the studio execs to run the theater. It just, your checks are coming from Netflix, and then Netflix will keep their streaming thing going, and it will be a domination. So a lot of people saying, "Oh, Netflix will ruin theaters forever." No, because again, this you got to think merger. Just we own this company now. Y'all run y'all thing. Now our board, we will only again our radar will only go off if we're like losing money. We're looking at the books. Like, okay, what's going on? Do we got to get someone else? So think more merger. So I wouldn't down Netflix like a lot of people are because of again they're thinking of the theater experience would be ruined. But no, again they would let them run. Netflix will allow Warner Bros. To continue to run things sort of as is, but with that ownership of Warner Brothers, I do think there's a good chance, Zach could be like, "Hey, can you throw me in there somewhere?" I think they would. I think they would for DC. So I don't see Netflix, like I said, winning a bidding war. But let's dive more into this CNBC article. Netflix taps bank to explore bid for Warner Bros. Discovery. So they want to explore it. The heads of Netflix, they pretty much said this that hey, we'll kick the tires if need be for not for all like legacy media, not for WBD whole, but I mean obviously if there's opportunities for studio streaming for IP, yeah, Netflix would be interested. So this says Netflix is actively exploring a bid for Warner Bros. Discovery studio and streaming business, retaining a financial advisor and gaining access to financial information, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. And this is a normal situation if you're exploring a bid. You sign an NDA, you look into the books to see, a potential cost cut that you would do. And this is again them exploring a bid for Warner Bros. Discovery for the studio and streaming side. There's a quote here. The CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, told investors last week that while the company is traditionally more builders than buyers, it does evaluate acquisitions based on criteria such as the size of the opportunity, whether it would strengthen the company's entertainment offerings. I mean, this would clearly strengthen, again, getting all this IP from Warner Brothers, because it's still about IP races, because you can license stuff off if you own all this IP, like it mentions Harry Potter, all the prolific Warner's catalogs, DC, of course, among other things. So a lot of IP there, and it's clear again, Netflix would not be interested in the cable TV networks, CNN, TNT, the Discovery side. Once the company, or if the company is allowed to split, Netflix is not interested in that. So if like today, if a bid is put in, it will be for a company that wants to buy it all. That's Paramount. Netflix would their bid wouldn't come into place until if the company splits next spring. So let's just keep the timeline of that in mind. And one thing you got to ask yourself, with this information coming out that Netflix is exploring the bid with these articles. Again, I always say you ask that question: who wants this information out there? When the previous episode we talked about James Gunn and the execs will likely stay if Paramount was to buy Warner Bros. Discovery whole. Who wanted that story out there? Paramount did. Paramount wanted to sanitize the narratives out there that Paramount's going to come in, David Ellison's going to come in and clean house and Everyone is done. That story was put out there to say, no, it's going to be more of a merger. That's the deal. Co-chairman Zazev will be here. Now, of course, David Ellison would be the head chairman, but he would merge and bring Zazev over, as a not equal but a co-chairman. Paramount wanted that out there. That killed a lot of rumors. There's a lot of things being said as far as what Paramount was going to do. So that killed that. So the Paramount, they accomplished getting that story out there. This here with Netflix, Warner Brothers wants this story out here about Netflix because Zazev wants that bidding war. And it was revealed behind the scenes, Zazev was saying he wants to try to get Netflix involved in Amazon bidding war. That helps Warner Bros. Discovery's stock is up to like $20 if it's still there at the time of this recording. Warner Brothers Discovery shares were $6 per share like a year ago. And some of us got with a bunch of that up, and now it's up to about $20 per share. So that's a pretty good profit. And Zazev wants to, again, keep that trajectory of the stock. So Zazev wants a bidding war. So he wants to make sure it gets up there. Yeah, Netflix is interested. I think you're going to hear, Amazon, they're exploring the bid. Comcast, is really the biggest challenge to Paramount. It's Comcast, because Comcast would buy it all if they have to. So this is the bidding war. You're going to hear about more companies. And as I said, it's going to get really crazy when it gets public that the Saudis likely presented an offer. That's going to be interesting. The Saudis would be for Warner Bros. Discovery whole. Now, we do have a quote concerning Comcast. As they told investors, the company is evaluating media assets that will be complementary to its existing business. That's a merge. That's Warner Brothers. He also appeared to dismiss those who are skeptical of Comcast winning regulatory approval. Under this administration, Trump's made different comments out there. But really, I think Trump said directly, he favors Paramount over Comcast because Trump has something personal against heads of Comcast. But it doesn't appear Comcast is worried about the regulatory things or this administration. As they said, there are more things that are viable than maybe some of the public commentary that's out there. Basically, Comcast is saying, don't worry about that. When it's time to make business decisions, we'll make business decisions. And, usually it involves paying off some people, greasing the palms of some lobbyists, and these deals get through. When the right people get paid, these deals get through. So I don't count out Comcast, obviously. Paramount, as I gathered, they're pretty much the favorite because they'll buy it all. Comcast can definitely challenge that, and definitely the Saudis. But if we get to next spring, then that's where Netflix will come in. So it's a few steps. Those that's favoring Netflix, there's a few steps that needs to happen for Netflix to even have a chance. Again, are we going to make it to next year with no deal? Because Netflix can't make a deal this year. They're not buying the cable channels. So let's say we get to next spring and things split, then it's going to be an all-out bidding war. You're still going to have Paramount right there. You're still going to have Comcast, Amazon. Would Netflix be prepared to outbid them all? That's all it comes down to. And then we'll see where it falls with that. So definitely let me know in the comments below. Who are you favoring to get this purchase? Again, it's going to be a lot of leaks and things out there, and to sway public opinion. And I think all sides are going to be using these leaks to strengthen, like I said, to strengthen their position. And Zaslav, like I said, he just wants an all-out bidding war. It's going to be wild. And again, all of this is not going to be a complete takeover. And whoever ends up, bidding for and winning Warner Brothers, obtaining Warner Brothers, it appears it's going to be more of a merger, meaning, again, keeping most of Warner Brothers intact, the execs, Zaslav, DeLuca Abdi, yes, DC, Safran and Gunn. It will likely start out that way no matter who acquires Warner Brothers. And then again, they would only step in if there's like some serious money issues or things trending the wrong way. So very interesting stuff. We'll see who steps up next, who is publicly revealed next for the quest of purchasing the storied Warner Brothers studio, which includes complete ownership of DC.
Let me give you more reasons to follow the homie Sil for the latest news, scoops, and moves he's about to reveal. From coffee talks to special brews, Hamada burgers for meals, a cup of bourbon with that tea that's about to get spilled. Like, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. Take out your pen and paper, sit down and take notes. Sil is the realest among imposters, scavenging cutthroats. So, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show. Let's go. Between DC and Marvel, they both have a startle. Disney's moving finicky, let's not mention Star Wars. All these movie execs be drunk off that power, disconnected from the fans in the ivory towers. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. When they keep making the same mistake, that's what you call insanity. They can't even acknowledge their self-inflicted calamity. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. Scoop Senator, coffee talks, also covering analytics, making his own reviews, cause it's always been the critics. They clout chasers, money driven, repeating the latest gimmick. Come over to Sil Nation where true vision is given. Listen, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. Let's not forget Mikey's son, always special to the crew. From day one when him and Sil got together for special brew. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. I guess I finish on this note. When the niggas go flip mode, they turn gremlins, I'm gizmo. Come from my people, my kinfolk. For them I ride for and kill for. With this pistol I'm skillful. Shit can really escalate till it all goes abysmal. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. I'm a watchman, forever vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard. Yo, Sil, we need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go.